Hello everybody, welcome in. Today I am finally sharing a valley tour. It's been fully decorated for a little while now, so I thought that it was finally time that I did a tour before I tear it all down and start building something new. Ooh! Thanks, Eric. See ya. Starting off in my plaza over on the right side, this is where I have Remy's house, and I've made a little area covered in foliage and these colourful park benches from Dreamlight Parks Fest. Right next to Remy's I have this park entrance which covers up a little courtyard where I have the Mickey and Walt statue just sat in the middle there, and I have my entrance to the Sunlit plateau just in the corner. And just down the front I have Daisy's Boutique and Olaf's Grand Exhibition, which we got from a very recent update, and that leads over down to one of the entrances to the meadow. Right in the centre of my plaza I have that rustic clock tower, which is surrounded by a lot of colourful foliage, some of those spitting water fountains, and these fences that we got from Wish Blossom Ranch. And over on this side you can see I've got Remy's restaurant with the Ratatouille subway station arch outside of it, and I've got a couple of outdoor dining areas as well. And just over here in the corner is where I've got my Scrooge's store. Looking at it from this angle, my plaza is quite open, it's quite clean, it feels accessible and horse friendly, especially since we got Wish Blossom Ranch. I'd definitely like to, in the future, experiment with doing more closed off builds, smaller pathways, something less open, but I think it's got a very nice pretty vibe at the minute and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And now coming into my peaceful meadow, I have a strip of the raspberry bushes and my well leading all the way down to Dazzle Beach. On the left I have this cute little flower stall with the cart and the gardening house skin from the premium shop. I have one of the elegant gazebos covering the pathway, and I used a lot of overgrown foliage that was pink and purple that matched Minnie's house and Daisy's house quite well. Between Minnie and Daisy's houses I have the Stitch truck, I have one of Goofy's stalls, and I have a popcorn machine. And in the centre of this little courtyard area I've got a few picnic tables where villagers can come and sit and eat if they want to. And just behind that I have the pond with some of those swan boats inside as well. Over on the right I've got one of the New Orleans gazebos acting as a bit of a music pavilion. I've got a piano in here where villagers can come and sit and play and listen to music as well. Just behind the pavilion I've got the Toontown fire station, and down this path I've got another open courtyard space which leads over to Mickey and Goofy's. Outside Mickey's he's got a little picnic blanket. I think that was part of his quest line that he and Minnie like to go on little picnic dates. And down this way I've got Pluto and Max's kennels next to some of the companion homes, which is outside the pet shop house skin from the premium shop. My meadow is very colourful and chaotic, and I don't think I'd like to decorate it quite like this again. I do like how divided each of the areas are, like it feels like there's a dedicated space for everything. I do really struggle with the meadow, so I was very happy to get it finished. Moving on down to the glade, I have a small produce section on the right here and my well in the centre of this main street path. I used this new brick pathing we got from the Lady and the Tramp update to create like a nice courtyard area, and I have Tiana's house just in the back left here, and I have Lady and Tramp's house just on the opposite side as well. Coming down the centre here I have a strip of benches for people to sit down at, and that leads towards a couple of stalls including a coffee cart, Goofy's stall and Tiana's meal stall. I have Tiana's palace just opposite those benches, and she also has some outdoor seating areas like Remy. I used her craftable bistro tables with the lily pad lights on top. Then at the bottom of my glade I've got the Grand Emporium house skin. Walking over this rocky bridge I used these romantic archways that I think we got from a Lumiere quest, I could be wrong, and that comes into a bit of an overgrown area of my glade. Over to the left I've got the zoo fountain, which you get from a quest with Tramp, and further down on the left I've also got Wally's garden. Further down this way I've got a bit of an old abandoned greenhouse vibe going on. To be honest, I don't really know what this area is. This entire area is a little bit fairycore, a little bit overgrown, a little bit of sort of castle ruins. There's a lot going on. But I also used this train car house skin, which I really love, and I'd like to make that a bit of a centre point for a future build. I then have a nice rose garden just on the right over here using some of the flower beds we got from the Lady and the Tramp update. I have another set of the greenhouse walls and a nice seating area in there alongside this storyteller's fire pit we got from the Pocahontas update. In the centre of my glade, I've got these like outdoor greenhouse archway kind of things lining a path of cobblestones just outside of Mother Gothel's horrible unmovable treehouse. And that's my glade. It's kind of ugly, and I'll own up to that. I do like this back half with the overgrown bits and the castle walls and the ruins. It is very fairycore, which is one of my favourite styles to decorate in. But the idea I had in mind for this more city street area didn't quite work out, so next time I'd like to try and execute it a bit better. There are definitely some pretty areas within my glade, it's just definitely not my favourite biome. And now moving on to my Dazzle beach, which is my favourite area of this valley. It's got a very bright, whimsical vibe to it, I think, and I've placed a bunch of picnic tables down and palm trees, and this is actually where I have my grove of, what are they called? Dream? Are they just Dreamlight trees? I don't know, that's what we'll call them. Over the bridge I placed down the colourful cafe from the Stitch bundle with the chairs and tables which also came in that bundle, and I used this ancients pathing which leads over to the dock and to this circular pool which I'm pretty sure is a Moana item. Following around from that pool, I've got Eric's castle and a bit of an octagonal section of the natural path with the carriage behind it from the Little Mermaid bundle, and you can also access the cave from back here as well. I sort of accidentally turned this area into a Little Mermaid inspired market town, and you can see here I've got a selection of market stalls selling food and pottery, seashells, everything like that, and I've even got some time bending items on the stall just over here. I have the Seaside Villa house skin from the premium shop just on the left there. I think it matches quite well with Eric's castle. And I have my well just here in the middle of this little circle. Here I have Ariel's castle with a rainbow behind it and some of the boats from, I think that's either a Mulan quest or something from the premium shop. But I bought some of the Moontide glow waves as well, which by the way, they are 30k. That is crazy behaviour, like let's be real. I will 100% be buying more of them, but for 30k, that stings. That's like Tom Nook pricing. Anyway, around the corner I've got the seaside fountain, Eric's statue and a couple of circular benches. And across on the Skull Rock Island is where I have Moana's hut, her boat and a little banquet table. This is where I store all of the pillars from the original storyline of Disney Dreamlight Valley. I did have them in all of their original biomes, but I liked having more space and not limiting myself to having to decorate around them. And then just off the side of Moana's island I have Maui's house and a covered canoe. I love my beach. I really liked what I did with it. I think all of the greenery makes it feel a bit more overgrown and jungly as well. It feels very resorty, especially this area with the pool and the cafe. But I don't think for me anything will be better than this Prince Eric build / Little Mermaid build. I just really like how it all came together, and I've always struggled with the layout of this beach because it's a bit of a tricky shape. And I think this is the biome I will miss the most when it comes to me tearing everything down to do a whole set of new builds. Now entering the Forest of Valor, I've continued using the Ancients pathing, and I have a bit of a library reading, very cozy pumpkin patch vibe. This is where I do all of my pumpkin farming. I'm actually yet to set up a proper farm, but the fairy godmother lives right in the middle, obviously, and I use some of these Cinderella pumpkins and the pumpkin cart outside of her house as well. I used the provincial house skin and some of these book tiles from Storybook Vale to lead over to this gazebo where you can actually sit on a sofa made of books, and obviously Belle's here, very on theme. I then have this area with an elegant gazebo again, which I just have all of my storage chests in. I'm one of the few people who actually likes the grind of questing, and so I don't like the thought of just having everything already. That then leads over to my well in the Forest of Valor, which I've got the cherry blossom skin on at the minute, and it's surrounded by a lot of magnolia trees. I have Mulan and Mushu's house tucked away in the back here with the Zen garden out the front, and I used their lanterns and some magnolia benches to make this look like a really nice place to spend some time. Across this bridge is actually the part of the forest, or part of the valley I guess, where I live. But first of all on the left I have the Tony's Restaurant house skin from the very recent Lady and the Tramp update, and in the spirit of that I have a lot of picnic tables with pizza and pasta on and root beer, and I paired Flynn's level 8 reward I think bar with that as well. I have the Enchanted house here, which is my house in game, and I'm actually dressed as Giselle as well, so I'm also very on theme. I have another little rose garden section here amongst some more castle ruins. And just outside Elsa's Cavern, I have the new picnic blanket, which came from the Pocahontas update. And then over this rocky bridge is another way to get to the Provincial Library area and the pumpkin patch, and it leads up nicely to the Frosted Heights. Overall, definitely not one of my favourite biomes again, but I do like some features of it, and I really like how I incorporated Mulan and Mushu in this build. My library area and pumpkin patch is definitely my favourite though. I like the little trail of books which leads over to the cute little reading area. And I do like my Tony's restaurant idea as well. I just think I've kind of meshed a lot of things together in this area which don't quite go together. But it is a very nice area to pass through, and I've quite liked living in this build. Next, moving into the Frosted Heights, I've used the Ancients pathing again, but this time the bordered one, and I have my well surrounded with the white elegant fencing that we get from Tramp's questline. I have a park entrance over to the right which comes into this very weird, very strange sort of nothing area. It's just where I have my cherry trees, and I use some of the lights from a Mulan set, I think maybe from the premium shop or from Scrooge's. This is also a bit of a random area. I really wanted to use some of the alpine stuff that was covered in snow, and I felt like it fit really nicely in the Frosted Heights. I have the Christmassy Stitch truck just over here and a snowy hay bale, which leads nicely over to my snowy fairy court area. I used the Cinderella walls which came with her update that you can get from the premium shop, and both of the teapot houses including Tinkerbell's, to create this fairy atmosphere. This is also where I placed Merlin's house. I felt like he fit very nicely up here, especially with me incorporating some green into the normal colder sort of blue tones, and I've got an area for fairy tea time with these cute little acorn teacups and mushroom tables. I will say I'm not a huge fan of my alpine area. It's very squished and that pond is just in the most awkward place. And fun fact, I actually completely rushed this area of my Frosted Heights because I really wanted to get it done and I had no ideas, so I just placed a bunch of stuff down, and I think it's now a very close second to being my favourite after Dazzle Beach. And now walking into my Sunlit Plateau, I've gone for a very jungly savannah vibe, very inspired by The Lion King. On the right here, I've got Scar's area. He's got his cave, some hammocks to relax in, a nice banquet table, and one of the entrances to the Forgotten Lands. And further down the path to the left, I have Pride Rock and a few decorated sort of like campsite hangout areas as well to go along with it, and that cool sort of spiky natural looking fence which is from Nala's questline. I also have this waterfall item which is also from Nala's questline. I think that's her level 10 reward, and further this way is the bridge over to my well. Down here I've got a bit of a cozy area with a water hole, a tree swing and a nice sofa to sit on, and then I've got a grove of my cocoa beans. Over the rocky bridge I've got an agrabah sort of style market, but continuing with the jungly foliage from my Lion King area. I did actually have Aladdin and Jasmine here originally, like just their house, but I finally got the agrabah wall set from the premium shop, so I moved them over to my Eternity Isle to get a nice build out of their house and those walls. But I have a crafting table over here, another place to sit, and that loops nicely back round to my well. I really love how my Sunlit Plateau has turned out, and I'm just now noticing that those garden path stones kind of look like paw prints. I like the layout I've gone for. It feels purposeful but natural at the same time, and considering that natural and earthy colour palette, it still feels vibrant. Again, I think it's going to be one of those biomes that I'm very sad to see go. I did really struggle with my Sunlit Plateau when decorating, and I was so happy that this came together the way it did. And last but not least, I'm moving into my Forgotten Lands. This was the first full biome that I had complete, fully decorated, and it's been waiting for me to finish the next few biomes. Straight away I have a very sort of witchy themed room filled with crafting tables, uncrafting tables, cooking stations and decor from that witchful thinking star path we had a little bit ago. I then used these greenhouse walls again to make a bit of a walkway slash atrium, which first leads over to this pond where I have a nice sitting area where you can just perch and ponder. Through this way I've got a walkway of ruins and my gooseberry bushes, which then leads over to a cobblestone path and this creepy tree which I think we got from a star path. Then I have the well with the flying crows around, which I think was from the Halloween floating festival. And I also have Jack and Sally's house here with, of course, a pumpkin patch right outside and Jack's hair? He does not have hair. Jack's chair where he can sit and look over the pumpkins. Further this way I have Goofy's stall and the potion stall, which you can buy from the premium shop. You can actually stand inside of that stall and that makes it really useful for dream snaps. And by the also horrible unmovable treehouse dreamscape thing, I have Mulan's shadow puppet theatre and a bunch of tables with spooky candles and chairs for you to sit at with a popcorn machine and watch some shadow plays. I then have the Cheshire Cat here. The colour of his tree doesn't really fit in with the rest of the environment, but he himself is quite creepy and he's purple, so he fits perfectly well within the Forgotten Lands. And just tucked away down here I have an area for villagers to sit and listen to the others speak. I was kind of inspired by one of Timon's quests, which I think is discovering the Forgotten and Scar and Mother Gothel writing poetry. I then just have a wrought iron fenced in area of this Forgotten Lands brick path with some benches to sit at, to fish, a couple more Alice in Wonderland inspired items, and that leads back around to the Cheshire Cat's tree and into the Sunlit Plateau as well. I was quite proud of myself for fully decorating this biome actually, because it was the first time I fully filled in an area of the valley and actually really liked it. I think it's creepy and very fitting with the natural environment that's given to us within the game, and I like all of the little areas I've managed to package into the space. And whilst I do love it, I am definitely looking forward to tearing it down and doing something new, but as it stands I really like this build. So that... oh, excuse me.
My, the valley is looking splendid, my dear.
Thank you. I really hope you enjoyed this video and the tour and all the different kinds of builds that I have in my valley, and I'd love to hear in the comments what kind of builds you have. I'm definitely excited, like I said, to do some new builds. Maybe I'll do some build videos, who knows. But thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Make sure to like it if you did enjoy, and I will see you in the next video.